friends. Welcome back to the Pregnant Christian Environmentalist podcast. I have a wonderful topic today that I think is going to intrigue everybody because this affects everybody. Gluten. I'm going to have a friend later on that is a good friend of me and Riley's. She, in my mind, has always been the sourdough queen, even though a lot of my friends do sourdough, but she's just switched to milling her grain. So we're going to talk about how she does that with family, with a busy schedule. But for now, I want to go into the deep depths of gluten. And why did I choose that topic? Well, over the last couple weeks, and by the way, I'm now at week 23, I just keep learning and learning a whole lot about labor. And I thought I wouldn't get so obsessive about it, but I'm just really, really fascinated. It is wild to me how labor is so different for every woman. And it's so different from her first to her second or third kid. It can be so completely painful, but this week I listened to a little bit of pain-free childbirth course, her intro and what she says about pain. And some say that they don't have pain in labor. I know that's more rare. But why is it more rare? Guys, the last couple weeks, I have met with some home birth midwives. I know, big things. Maybe I've been sounding a bit more like we're gonna have a hospital birth. I still don't know. But I also had some dreams about making my decision. I listened to some podcasts, one in particular, The Real Alex Clark. She has a couple good ones. Well, they're all really good, but a couple I listened to that have really affected me, and Ina May's birth stories, Natural Birth the Bradley Way, Riley's reading Husband Coach Childbirth, and his, again, social media feed is wild. He's sending me all the things. And with all those courses and meetings and one more appointment I had, I am going to go into them actually in later episodes because there's so much to talk about. But for now, I just want to say that I am really coming to the conclusion that the way your labor goes is not all a coincidence. I'm really beginning to believe, I know this is scandalous, that the healthier your body is, the more painless your birth is going to be. I do also believe that it is a spiritual event, that 70% of labor is mental. So not actually just your body's health, but your mental health, maybe your spiritual health too. I mean, how much are you praying about the day of labor, right? Now, some of you may be thinking, the healthiest girl I know went into labor and her birth was terrible. But we all have different opinions on health. What is healthy? What is processed? What is real food? And that healthy person you're thinking about may be eating something that's actually wrecking one of their vital organs, and we don't know. So that being said, let's talk about me for a second. That does not mean I am sure that I'm going to have a pain-free childbirth. Heck no. I do not know. I very much cheat on my health beliefs all the time. We've talked about this. I have had some symptoms during my pregnancy that clearly show some things have been off. Okay, so I know that there are some things I'm eating that I probably shouldn't be right now, and I hate to admit that. And the truth is, none of us are perfect, but it is really motivating me to really try and eat healthy, obviously, and figure out what is the perfect diet, which I don't think we'll ever get there. But I do also think that it's a little too late for me. I have already conceived. I'm already 23 weeks, and a lot of what I'm learning, I really wish I knew before I ever conceived, before I started trying. So this just makes me even more passionate for all of you who maybe will learn a lot and are going to have children in the future and will make some changes to your diet, because I really, really believe that this is vital. We talked about seed oils and inflammation from that, and maybe them causing pain during labor, but overall definitely causing damage to you. I've talked about microplastics and how that damages your health as well. Definitely want to talk about more my ancestral eating, and can I just say, thank God I switched to ancestral before I conceived, because it completely healed the inflammation and the bloating I used to experience all the time. Yes, there's the occasional bloating evening for me, and that's when I eat badly. So I actually am really filled with hope for that day of labor. We'll see after it happens. Like, this is in the future, and it's crazy that I'm going to be able to tell you guys about how it goes down, but I just have so much hope because I really feel not inflamed. I'm really on with my antioxidants. But again, I have had some symptoms that were negative, my fatigue. I've had some acid reflux. I've had some back pain. Like, obviously things aren't perfect, I do cheat all the time. I've eaten things I've regretted already during this pregnancy, so whatever. So we don't know. But now, new thing that I am really sad. I have been eating white flour a lot during this pregnancy and before. I'm a huge fan of sourdoughing, and so I've been making from scratch pasta, waffles, pizza dough, bread, my sandwich bread, always all sourdough. And I thought that's great, except I kind of knew I shouldn't be buying store-bought flour, but I was just procrastinating setting up on it. So it was finally time for me to deep dive research. Thanks to Corinne, my friend that's going to be on in a minute. Her just bringing up the subject of milling flour just got me to finally sit down and research. And guys, it's bad. We all need flour mills. Okay, so let's get into it. One last side note though about gluten, which is just a very small sample size. I like to say that. We really like to think of that friend that happened to during labor, or that friend who seems healthy, but this happened, whatever. That's a very small sample size. Okay, so I'm making fun of myself, but my friend Tina is pregnant with me. She's my pregnant buddy right now, and she has had 0 bad symptoms. Like, we're actually tripping out right now. I think she needs to have a science study done on her. No negative symptoms, nothing. First trimester was great. She's already second trimester. She's gluten-free. Okay? Just saying. She is celiac. She will not have 1 ounce of gluten, so not even a bite, all right? Meanwhile, over here, I'm like hunched over with my acid reflux, like dying of fatigue. Okay, so I'm super jealous, and she is a Pilates girly too. I keep telling her it's the Pilates. I don't know. But now that I just read everything and learned everything I did about gluten, I'm getting a little sus and thinking, dang, we are being poisoned and inflamed by gluten. Actually though, by the flour we're eating. So let me rewind and actually change the name to the theme of this is about flour, because gluten is not the culprit, guys. Gluten is just a protein. It's natural. It's fine. It's our flour, unfortunately. Now, studying up on this was hard because Google, we all know how that goes, okay? And even going into some really healthy bloggers, people I kind of trust, they're just like, oh, go gluten-free and you'll be fine. And it makes sense because people have tried that and they felt amazing after, because they're cutting out flour. But the good news is there is good flour. And I always like to say, don't cancel foods that are clearly created by God, beautifully packaged deal, which we'll get into that in a minute. Flour is another packaged deal that we have stripped of the necessary ingredients to help digest it. Don't cancel good, nutritious food. Food is a beautiful thing. If it's delicious and created by God and not super processed, it's a good thing. So before you just skip this episode because you don't want to go gluten-free, let me now correct that this is about flour and you need to switch your flour and eat burger buns and pasta and pizza and all the delicious things with a better flour. That's one of the reasons I love ancestral eating, is because you're eating delicious foods. You just gotta swap out the ingredients. I am eating yummier meals than I've ever eaten. Since I've switched my ingredients that I keep at home, I now taste the worst version, the processed version of the ingredients, and I think, this is rancid, this is old, this is fake. My body is seriously averse to it. It doesn't want it. It can smell and taste that it's not real food and that it's not gonna make me feel good. And I don't miss those old ways. Like, I'm eating freaking bomb meals every night with amazing ingredients. Now that I know that I'm gonna switch sourdough to milling flour, it's gonna stay the same. Maybe it'll get even yummier because milling flour is actually way easier than sourdoughing. So through my research, it was, again, hard to find a lot of information. So quite a bit of what I'm about to share right now, kind of condensed, is from the Real Alex Clark's podcast with Sue Becker. And she mills her own flour. She's been healed by it. Corinne later on is going to mention her favorite influencer-y blog girl that also was healed by milling flour. But yeah, I definitely need to give full credit to that podcast. I'm going to link it. I'm also going to link another podcast of hers in the show notes that is really convincing me that our health really determines how our labor goes. Come at me, bro. You can get upset. You can give me your examples. But there's always something that could be wrong with us. Even if we eat so healthy today, that could have happened during our conception. Like, I really think labor is meant to be pain-free. And if it's not, then something is wrong, and that's not your fault. It's just, it could have happened at any point in your life. But anyways, so quickly, just to get into the history of flour and grains in the US, I had it all wrong. I thought it was like everything else where it's GMO'd, it's owned by all the big corporations, and we're all screwed, and yeah. Actually, there is no GMO grain in the USA. Unfortunately, it just got passed that we are now going to deregulate grain and if it's GMO or not in the US. That was passed by the Department of Agriculture. So apparently in the next 3 to 5 years, it could switch and we might start having GMO grain grown in the US, which is very unfortunate. So for now, you don't necessarily have to buy organic grain, but in 3 to 5 years, we might have to start. Who knows at that point? But really, this is what happens to grain. This is what caused everybody in the US to be gluten sensitive. I mean, who actually feels good after eating a bunch of processed flour in the US today? No one. But how many people have you heard say, I went to Italy and I could eat everything and I'm gluten sensitive and I want to move there? Yeah, it's the US. So before the 1900s, everyone in the US milled their own grain. It was just something you do. It was in the home and it wasn't a big deal and we all just milled our own grain. Then big corporation mills found a way to separate the wheat germ from the endosperm or the flour, and separating this made it so it could be shelf stable for so long and not go bad. And that's why they did it. It was for money, of course. It didn't improve anything else about it. So the wheat germ that we have been separating from the flour, that is filled with nutritious amino acids, germ oil, vitamin E. It's God's package deal that he created to be together, to be this nutritious, incredible food that we eat and digest easily and is full of nutrients. So we separated that, and as soon as we did that in the US, everyone was excited. Oh, we can buy flour at the store now. It doesn't go bad. Big corporations, super happy selling this stuff. 3 big diseases became rampant in the US. So rampant that they actually thought the diseases were infectious because it happened so quickly after we switched to this flour. Anemia, beriberi, and another one that starts with a P, pellagra. These diseases were literally sending people to psych wards, causing dementia, causing GI problems. And it was found out probably after way too long, because we know how slowly things move in our government, that the reason is because we were eating all this flour without nutrients that help us digest the flour. So it was asked from these corporations to stop doing what they're doing, add the nutrients back in. They said no, because they had started selling the wheat germ to animal feed businesses and it was so lucrative. They said, no, we're going to stay how we are. So the government had to intervene because it was such an epidemic, and they made the corporations have to add nutrients back into their end product. Okay, so that's why you see enriched flour. So these companies started adding the synthetic, cheaper form of 4 of these nutrients back to their end product out of 40-ish nutrients. Of course, yes, they're synthetic. And speaking of babies and pregnancy, why do we all need to take folic acid in our prenatals? Why is that the number one thing suggested? Like, oh, eat anything else, but make sure you get your folic acid, is because that is stripped from the flour as well. And through studies, babies started coming out kind of weird, missing limbs and stuff. And they did do studies, traced it back to the folic acid. Now we have prenatals with totally synthetic folic acid, and it is not bioavailable to us. So luckily I found a prenatal that uses real folate, like it's bioavailable. And I actually recently switched to just taking liver pills like my sister said in the first place. I'll actually link those in the show notes if you're interested, but definitely the most bioavailable way to get that really essential nutrient. But if I start milling my own grains, I actually won't need to take that either. Another nutrient that is stripped is B3. So a lot of flours, one of those 4 nutrients is, I think, B3 that they add back to it. So those 2 government interventions are just great examples of how it takes the government forever to intervene, and we just let corporations do whatever they want to our food, and we need to just be on it and do our research and not wait for laws to pass for tons of people to get diseases and die. I mean, clearly we have crazy disease problems in the US, so let's not just wait around and let the government fix it for us. Another example of this is they bleach flour, so still stripping it today from that wheat germ that's so essential, and it can make funny colors. So they, throughout history, have tried different types of bleach for this new end product flour, and those have been one by one made legal because the flour millers just started using that chemical. People were getting sick, government would find out, they would make that illegal, so they'd switch to a different bleach, and I think that's happened more than 4 times. So whatever bleach they're using today, how long is it going to take us to make that one illegal? I don't want to wait for that. So that's why we all need to buy whole wheat from the grocery store. Thanks for listening, guys, and until next, no. Whole wheat from the grocery store is actually still separated. They separate the germ from the flour and all the oil and nutrients are lost. And then I guess they just add the germ back later. I don't know exactly how that process goes, but it is just as indigestible. And yes, they're sitting on shelves in plastic bags in grocery stores. So there are preservatives added and caramel color added to make it look like whole wheat. Unfortunately, you can't get milled grain at stores unless you live by a really cool group or company that does it. Maybe you live in the country or just you're around some rad people, but most of us cannot. We have to order it online and get a grain mill, and I'm planning to do that right after this. So people that have switched to milling their own grain, there has been some insane reports. I'm talking celiac disappear, carbohydrate problems, blood sugar problems, fatigue. Parents are reporting that their kids literally never have to go to the doctor. They've never seen their child have a runny nose because they mill their own grains. So yes, gluten-free people are avoiding the problem, but they're not getting one of the most nutrient-dense, beautiful God-created foods that is full of amazing essential fatty acids and vitamin E and vitamin B. Okay, you get the point. Another benefit of still eating breads and flour products, what do you call that? Products with grain, is that you do feel really full from it. And a lot of us are giving our kids processed flour, and a lot of us are eating processed flour, and we just feel hungry all the time. And that's one thing that I like to say in my food testimony is that I used to be hungry 24/7. And eating ancestrally, I just feel full. Like I eat less. And yes, I have lost weight, but I'm stronger and healthier and more energetic. You eat your meal and you're good. Like you feel so satisfied. Where before when I would eat all the processed foods, I just felt never ending hungry. I felt insane. So eating milled grain, amazing wheat products is nutritious and it's making you feel full. And last benefit, I'm sure there's way more. It's so freaking good. Like let's eat cinnamon rolls and blueberry muffins. I've had my friends milled grain products and trust me, it's way better than the bagged products at the grocery store. And speaking of that, I have just been loving making these switches and knowing that I am contributing way less plastic packaging into the world. Not that I create it, but I am not voting with my dollar for those companies that wrap everything in plastic. The more studies that are coming out about plastic, the more we're finding out that those chemicals from it are leaching into foods. We don't know if that bag of bread has been sitting in the sun, especially when it's that really thin plastic and everything else is just wrapped in plastic. And so for sustainability, all you fellow activists out there, that's another reason to jump on this bandwagon because it seriously feels so fulfilling to be making so many things from scratch and they've never been packaged and on a shelf. They've never been transported through a plane, through a semi-truck. It can just be in a big bucket, you know? And the more individually wrapped small things there are, the more waste from packaging, and packaging is one of the highest percentages of plastic usage in the world today. I also love that buying grain is supporting farmers instead of supporting lab-made preservative ingredients. Again, vote with your dollar. So in a moment, we are going to hear how easy it is because again, I've been sourdoughing. It isn't that easy to sourdough, and according to Corinne, it is the easiest thing to mill grain and make food right before dinner. So we're going to hear more about that. And another note on bread is I can't get over the fact that in the Bible, Jesus, what does he compare himself to? The bread of life. Jesus is the bread of life. He doesn't say the meat of life. He doesn't say the fruit of life. Though on that note, if we're talking ancestral eating, all the foods we try to eat a lot of, meat, fruit, milk, honey, Those are all like beautiful foods used in the Bible to be analogies for beautiful parts of the gospel and of life. If you know what verses I'm talking about. I mean, fruits of the spirit, and we need meats, and we need milk, honey. Anyways, of all the amazing foods, Jesus compares himself to the bread of life. And another crazy thing, and this I also learned from Sue Becker from that podcast, is there's actually a Bible verse that talks about how people used to lend and borrow back in the day, and there were rules to it. So a rule was when you lent something, then you had to give collateral. So they had to give you something of value. So it was always like an even trade, and then you trade back when they return that thing. So in the Bible, there's a rule that says, but you can never, as collateral, take somebody's millstone, because that is his source of life. Guys, we've been eating bread since the beginning of time, and I just really don't want to let the corruption of corporations keep me from such a beautiful, nutritious source of food. By the way, another thing I found fascinating is there are lots of grains out there, and you can get all fancy with the mixing of them. There's white flour grain, there's red flour grain, there's millet, barley, spelt. I never knew what all of those words meant. It all makes sense now, and you can make certain ingredients and certain foods taste better, more fluffy, or whatever you want with the different combinations. For me, that's a little overwhelming. I'm sure it sounds overwhelming to you too, so I'm not going to get into that until down the road. And for now, just keep with the easy recipes and just use one type of grain. For those of you out there that are still not convinced, maybe you can think about getting a bread machine. So obviously, yes, we have to get a mill. I thought that it was really big, and I thought it was thousands of dollars. I don't know who planted that in my mind, but it's very small. It can be on your counter, and it's like not that expensive. You could also get a bread machine if need. Get one secondhand on Facebook Marketplace. Please check that first, because how many people have probably bought one and changed their mind after? It's a way to get one cheaper and more sustainably, of course. But for me, I'm totally cool with mixing with my KitchenAid and throwing it in the oven. I like to keep my kitchen pretty minimalist. And yes, let us touch on sourdough. Oh, sourdough. We've had such a love-hate relationship. I actually hated sourdoughing when I thought you could only make bowls and that was like what it was about. That's what everybody posts about. Then I fell in love with it when I started making a ton of other recipes that are easy. I've been making my sandwich bread. I think I listed earlier. Pasta, all my crackers, like basically all my bread products, flour products in the kitchen are sourdough. And yes, I felt better because that diminishes some of the gluten in it. But the thing is, that's not the big epidemic problem in the US today. It is the flour. So sourdoughing is great if you're using milled grain, unfortunately. And I might keep doing sourdough when I'm milling my grain, but for now, it's honestly kind of just for the taste. And if you don't want to keep buying yeast, I guess it's like free yeast. You know, sourdoughing is not yeast free. Yeast is just a bacteria. They're both just bacteria, your sourdough starter, your yeast, that helps the process of the growing and the rising. And I don't know if anyone else is like me, but I thought sourdough was probiotic. I actually wasn't sure, but I just kind of thought that because I've made kombucha before and it was such a similar process. It's not, because the bacteria does get killed in the baking process. So sourdough, if you love the flavor, keep doing it. But just know that sourdoughing does not change the flour. If this helps you understand it, the process is not adding wheat germ back into your end product. It's not adding, again, those 40 nutrients, the amino acids, the wheat germ oil, all of that back into it. Of course it's not. So we're still eating a dead product, a product that has been stripped of its essential components. And I have heard that you can buy yeast anywhere. There's not like crazy healthy yeast and really bad yeast. Just on an end note, again, I want to say that I am eating more delicious foods than I ever have. And I don't miss old ways. I don't miss Oreos and junk. Like the reason I always say I compromise all the time is because we're traveling or we're out and about, we're at dinner with friends, and I'm just getting whatever from the menu because I have that kind of mental balance. I'm not freaking out about it, but it's never as good as homemade with real ingredient meals, and it never makes me feel good. I don't miss the old ways, and I do understand that that actually could be a years-long process of creating a lifestyle where you can eat and cook and bake this way. it might not happen overnight with your job and your kids and your schedule. But if you have that as an end goal, I really believe that anyone can make it happen and live a different lifestyle. Maybe you work less so you can sacrifice some of your conveniences so that you can eat better and just feel so good and energetic. And I just want everyone to have that wonderful feeling. Okay, let's bring on Corinne. Corinne's basically my neighbor. She's a few roads down, and her little girl Josie, she always calls me friend. So she's my little friend. We'll go to church together. She'll point from across the room. There's my friend! She's so freaking cute, and she's gonna help us make some bread too. So let's bring Corinne on and let's chat a little bit more about it. Hi, Corinne.
Hi.
Thanks for being on.
Of course.
So we just started bread with your mill. Well, not with your mill, with milled grain.
Yes.
Which would you call that flour?
Yep.
You milled
Yep.
wheat grain.
Yes, we would milled some wheat berries into flour.
Okay.
And we made some bread together, and we're going to eat it after.
Yeah. So it's rising right now.
It's rising.
Okay, cool. So we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
But I really wanted to have you on because you've just always impressed me with 4 amazing kids. Like, that's important, is that they're amazing. Like, they're just so fun.
Aww.
And you're doing that while also being so involved in the community, which I've talked a bit about in past episodes, is how important that is to me.
Mm-hmm.
And how it's work to stay involved and not just become like your own little tribe that doesn't go out into the world. So yeah, I just see how involved you are, and you guys have amazing friends, and you're eating healthy, you're milling grain. Like, I know you said you're not the most crunchy mom ever, but you're milling grain. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And you're the sourdough queen. So
I don't know about that.
You were, apparently.
Yeah, during COVID, it was really fun because I learned, we had, all the moms were kind of experimenting, and we were home with our kids and we couldn't go anywhere. So I feel like, and I had actually a newborn baby, so I just feel like I was just home a lot. And so I had a lot of time to learn and to be home and to, make bread, to learn something new. And I feel like as a mom, especially moms who homeschool, it's nice to challenge yourself and to not just feel like you're drowning and caught up in like the monotony of, raising kids and little ones and always having food on the table. It's like you're to learn something new and a skill that you can nourish your family. It's kind of cool. So really cool. That was kind of, I think, why I started out doing the whole sourdough thing, was I was able to like learn something. It's like very scientific. And so I think like it was fun to like learn something new and to challenge yourself. And then, and then all the products that came from that was so fun.
Yeah. And you're always bringing sourdough to
gatherings
and gatherings too. So it's not just selfish. You're always giving it too.
Yeah. It's fun. Who loves bread? It's like everyone loves bread.
Yeah. No one's gonna be mad about that. Did you always like to be in the kitchen or not really?
So growing up, no, not at all. I mean, I was a homeschool kid and I'm the eldest of 5, but we really, I feel like, didn't have much. My mom was like, she kind of just cooked basic meals. She was a working mom. And so she didn't really pass down the art of like, cooking and baking and those, like she did those things, but it wasn't like our lifestyle. It was, just kind of to survive. But it wasn't until after I had started having kids that I started getting more in the kitchen. Like, cooking and things weren't really something that I did before getting married and having kids.
Yeah, for me, I didn't at all until getting married. And I think it's because
I want to impress your husband.
I want to impress him. Well, he's picky. He likes delicious food.
It's hard when your husband cooks and he can cook really good, because that's how Aaron is. And so it's like to have that standard. Yes, it's like you want to like impress them. So you have to like kind of provide.
That's literally exactly what I've been going through. Yeah. And I was girl dinner every night before Riley. Yep. And so now I'm trying, but also how good I've been feeling making things from scratch. I'm genuinely starting to like being in the kitchen. Yes. It's almost like this appreciation.
Totally, of food. Yeah.
Where before I was like, freaking have to do this just so I don't feel sick after eating processed food, whatever. So, sounds like kind of similar.
For sure.
You said you switched to milling grain recently because sourdough is a little bit more time consuming. So maybe you just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just stumbled upon somebody's account, this lady in Canada. I think it's called Basics. What I say? Better Basics.
Better Basics.
Yes.
Milling. Yeah.
And our family does not have gluten issues. We don't have any health issues at all. So eating food and having stomach problems, we don't battle with that, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it's always still on my radar to like, how can I nourish my kids with the best, food where I'm
That's
home.
Probably why they don't have health problems.
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like they do eat processed stuff. Like we're not super crunchy. I will buy like things, not fast food, but we will eat things that are easy. Also, they'll eat bags of chips and whatever. But yeah, I think like as a homeschool mom, I just feel like it's my duty to give them good food. And so that's one of the things that I just feel as a calling as a mom is to, provide my household with nutrient dense food. And so when I stumbled upon her content, she just shared her story that she was gluten intolerant and kind of just went into the whole story of how she started milling. And then now she has this company that mills flour. And so I just thought that was really cool. I wanted to just share it with friends who were gluten intolerant. Like, hey, like instead of like having to like go to like gluten flours or breads and all these things, like maybe you should try milling your own, because this literally took it away from her. Like she was gluten intolerant, couldn't eat bread, but once she started milling her own flour. So I just thought that was really cool, and I just wanted it to be like an avenue for friends who have those issues to be able to try. And so I got it, and I just think milling flour is so fun. My kids love it. Aww. And it's like when we run out of flour, it's like, oh, go get the wheat berries in the storage bin.
So cool.
And they all know how to mill, and we have flour. So it's just fun.
So why mill your own instead of just buying it from her?
So she's in Canada, and so I just think like the cost is a lot cheaper.
That's what I assume.
Yeah, so I just buy from a company called Azure Standard, and they are in Oregon, and so they just have lots of good options for all types of groceries. You can buy cans of soup, pasta, everything. And so there's a pod that gets shipped to Hawaii. You can be a part of a co-op here.
I've heard of this.
And so there's a lot of moms out here on the North Shore who
Isn't it like a giant pod?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you can place your order online, and then once it gets delivered, you go and you pick it up. And then you just have all of the things that you need. So I haven't actually had a delivery in a very long time. Like my wheat berries have lasted for months. Like I have a 20-pound bag of wheat berries that we haven't even dented.
Okay.
So
amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that it just lasts for so long.
Like years and years.
Wheat berries don't expire. And so it's really cool like how that's like how people used to do it back in the day, right? And so like flour does expire. Like there's an expiration date to flour, even when it's organic. It's like, so even though we go through it really quickly, like we don't really let our flour just sit. Even when it's store bought, we go through flour really quickly since they bake a lot. I just like the option of having the wheat berries and being able to mill it when we need it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Would you say, comparing, it's like half the time of making a sourdough loaf, or not the milling part, but just making
the bread part,
the bread with yeast?
I mean,
is it a quarter of the time?
It's probably like 1/100th of the time.
Really?
I don't even know.
Oh my God.
I mean, like sourdough is like all day, and and like when you throw it in the fridge to do the cold ferment, it's like next day, right? So it's like a 48-hour process
and
if you kind of are thinking about it. And it's an hour for yeast.
Okay.
So just with my schedule, like I'll do sourdough still when like I'm home and I get it going. But when I just am in a pinch and I want, dinner rolls, then we can just whip up yeast sandwich loaf so fast. It's ready literally in an hour, and then you bake it and it's like 20 minutes. So it's like an hour and a half process to do that. So whatever the math is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm starting to think ahead, and with Riley and I, there's just two of us. Mm-hmm. So I will make a bunch in bulk. Yeah. Sourdough, whatever it is, pasta, pizza dough, like make it in bulk and freeze it. Yeah. So it is kind of on hand. Yeah. But I feel like that doesn't work with a lot of kids. Yeah. Because don't have to get a freezer.
I mean, there are moms out there who do sourdough 100%, and like that's how they do it. But I just feel like with my personal lifestyle, we're traveling a lot. Like we're always out of the house. Our kids are surfing, like have all these different extracurricular activities that we're running to. So I just feel like in the season I'm at now, having like yeast bread is like, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
I can just make it and have it ready on the table that same day and afternoon without having to think like, oh my gosh, I gotta feed my star, I gotta have like bread. It's like too much sometimes.
You're already planning so many things ahead.
So it's just nice to like whip something up or have my daughter whip it up and then it just like sit on the counter, bake it in an hour.
Yeah.
Done.
How would you say, maybe even more important, the opinion of the kids, how do they like store-bought bread versus this bread versus sourdough?
I mean, I think kids, they will eat anything, but my kids, my older girls really do love the process of making bread. Like they're all like, whenever I mix it, they're like, oh, can I shape it? Like they get excited to like, can I do that part? Yeah. Like they love doing like the dinner rolls. And so like, that's where the part where I feel like we've been doing it for so long now that I can just be like, Ava, hey, can you like do that? Like I don't have to be the one making the bread anymore. I have all of our recipes and I'm just like, hey, make some dinner rolls. So she'll whip it out and handle it. And so they're confident enough now in the kitchen to make whatever it is that we want to have with our dinner, whether it's rolls or a loaf or anything.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So they like it.
Yeah. They love bread.
That's epic.
And fresh bread is the best.
Mm-hmm. And then comparing them, what's just from your knowledge, I'm going deep into the knowledge of the nutrition of bread and everything, but what would be the comparing, like from my knowledge with yeast and the grain, like that's solving the problem of bread in America, right? And clearly it healed this woman's
for sure.
How would you compare the two nutrition wise?
I mean, I think it just all goes back to like what flour you're using. Like you could be using processed flour for sourdough and it's
true,
so it just depends. Milling your own flour is probably the best way. So if you milled and then also did sourdough with that would be the best combo.
And where do you buy your yeast?
I just get it on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I have a bulk bag that I get and I just keep it in the fridge in a big jar.
Do you think there's a lot of options for buying the wheat berries? Let's say we're not in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Like in other places.
I think so. Like I think I'm pretty sure all health food stores actually sell. Like even here at Celestial's, I'm pretty sure they have wheat berries.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're just doing the more cost efficient.
Yeah, I just order like the 25-pound bag, which that helps a lot. Yeah, because I'm sure you could find it at health food stores, but it's going to be a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
So.
And then the mill. How much was that? Was that really expensive?
I found it actually on an Amazon Prime sale.
Nice.
So I have seen them on Marketplace, but for those types of equipment, I personally like to get them new because I know what happens and I'm not paying for something and not knowing what happened in someone else's kitchen. So I bought mine new on the Prime Day sale. I think like $3.50. Okay. It wasn't that much at all. Yeah. And there's more expensive ones. But
before what I thought it was this huge machine.
Yeah, no.
And it was
I'll show you it. It's so cute. And it looks very aesthetically like I could leave it on the counter if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I have a small kitchen, so I don't leave it on the counter. But it's very cute and not very big. There are attachments that you can actually do on the KitchenAid too, and it'll also mill.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
So if you wanted to just add, if you have a KitchenAid and you just wanted an attachment, they do have one of those. And I was almost going to do that route, but I just kind of was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm just going to have it.
I feel like I'm putting too much on my KitchenAid. I'm like, if this KitchenAid breaks,
right?
All hell breaks loose. But
yes.
Yeah, that's cool. I would probably get a separate one. So going back to sourdough though, what were some of your favorite like go-to sourdough recipes other than the bread?
Oh, my kids loved pretzels and bagels.
Cute. No way.
Yeah, so we love bagels. We do bagel sandwiches in the morning. Yeah, I feel like I would use it in like the starter and everything. We would make cinnamon rolls, other breakfast loaves.
We did a lot.
Yeah. I mean, crackers.
I do crackers.
So, I mean, you could literally use it in every recipe if you wanted to.
Okay.
Cakes.
And when you made a bowl, do you feel like you had to be home all day, basically, for the
No,
stretch
not
and
at all.
folds? Okay.
I didn't even do the stretch and folds if I was at home. Yeah.
That's what I was wondering, because some people say you can't skip any steps,
Yeah.
but then some don't do any of the steps,
Yeah.
but their breads are like, you know,
Yeah.
fluffy,
Yeah.
so, okay.
I think as long as you are using a very active starter, you'll be totally fine. And
True.
I would just do my stretch and folds right there at the end, like just quickly stretch fold, let it do another rise, and then shape it again.
It's more just the planning ahead.
Yeah.
And the feeding. That just makes it a lot.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I want to remember what I was going to ask about the grain.
Like what kind of grains? How to store?
Oh, yes. Good job. How?
Trying to think for you.
Yeah.
Pregnant brain.
Yeah, it's real. When you mill the grain, how long do you have for it to be on the shelf?
Oh, I mean, I just keep it in a sealed container and it can...
It's just like flour.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Because in my mind, the processed cheap flour lasts longer.
Okay.
So something...
I haven't had mine expire.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's I just kind of mill, a jar that we can keep out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do go through it. I'm not letting it sit for like months.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For kicks and giggles. Change the subject. I wanted to ask how your journey of raising meat rabbits went. And I know you didn't end up going through with it. So I just think it's funny, and I think
we actually did end up going through as far as like we did slaughter them.
Yeah, but you just didn't continue.
Yeah, so we did continue because we came to a more domesticated neighborhood. We used to live more on a country little plot where we had our meat bunnies, and then we ended up having to move. So we were just like, we couldn't keep up. We started the process, and then our life kind of changed. And so,
that makes sense.
So that's why we stopped. But we do want to take it up again.
Yeah, you do?
Yes.
That answers my question.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of worth it, but you just need the land.
We just need the land and just the time to
That's
take care of
like
them.
Homesteading family next level to me. So I'll never forget, because I don't know anyone else that's done that yet.
So I have a friend, my friend Sally. She grew up raising rabbits. She grew up raising rabbits. And so we had some domestic bunnies, and then Erin wanted to go next level and start having meat bunnies, because we had friends raising meat bunnies, and they had like great meat bunnies.
Yeah.
And so since we had the opportunity to get some, we were like, why not try? And I had to text Sally and be like, will I traumatize my kids?
Yeah.
Like, how was it for you growing up seeing like rabbits like hanging? And she's like, no, they'll be fine. No, and like actually like my older girls were like super into it. Like
they're so cool.
They're so gnarly. And so like they were part of the whole process, Erin, like butchering them, and they like cleaned it. They have like actually the fur. They like salted it so they could make purses.
You're kidding me, you guys.
So we still haven't done that part, but it's like it's all dried and it's like on the side
to go. Yeah, I just think that's gotta be one of the most sustainable ways to eat meat,
right? Yeah. We made some stew and it was good.
How did it taste?
Yeah,
did you only do
tastes like chicken
stew?
We did stew, and I feel like maybe we grilled it also. Yeah, we grilled it.
Was it good?
Yeah.
It was like chicken.
Yeah. It was like, it's like a very lean. Yeah. Meat.
That's so wild. I hope you do it again.
Yeah.
Maybe we will if we get land or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question, more broad. What would you just say to the audience, what your best tip is for not getting burnt out with kids and trying to cook nutritious meals with their schedules and sports and
I think just give yourself grace. Buy that pizza. We live off sometimes the ready-made foods at Costco. They have lots of good options. And so I'll grab a few of those to make our weeknights a lot easier. And just have a loaf of bread, but then also the ready-made whatever that they have. Yeah. So you're doing a little bit of both, or buy that packaged salad. It's like you have to kind of have a little bit of both sometimes.
Yeah, and don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to make every single meal from scratch.
No, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any closing thoughts?
Thank you for having me. I hope that your pregnancy goes well. Okay.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. And if you want Corinne back on the podcast, just let us know, and I'll force her to. And until next time. Guys, that bread warm out of the oven, I can't say it enough. was way better than any bread I have ever had. And we just made it so fast, and it's just because it's real food. I can't wait to hear your questions and your ifs, ands, and buts in the comments. I just want to hear all your guys' feedback. You do not give me enough feedback, okay? So get on it. I want to hear from you. And thanks for watching. Until next time.